Ready for it.
Thrilled for it.
Presenting Franks with Turbo Booster Jet Engine.
For the second year running, KKR and SRH close out their IPL campaign against each other, but the stage could be no more different than this time last year. Both the finalists from last year have had to contend with a difficult IPL 2025. What can we expect as they close out their campaigns in Delhi? Let's look ahead on Nexa Presents ESPN Cricinfo Time Out, where we have Tom Moody and Anil Kumble joining us. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time. Tom, given the contrast from last season's campaigns, and let's start with KKR first. What are the big takeaways? What are the big lessons that they will take going into 26?
Look, I think there's a few things. I think firstly in their top order, they've got too many players that play similar roles. Like Rahane, for instance, Raghavanshi, similar style players. There's a number of them that have been exposed to a high volume of balls, and it's denied the opportunity for the likes of Rinku and Andre Russell to come in and really have an impact in their games. So it's nearly, that top order lost a lot of confidence in that whole process, so they found it difficult to really expose their real power hitters.
Yeah, and Ajinkya Rahane becomes such an important piece when you consider all these issues, because afterthought at the auction, became captain by the time they entered the season, hasn't opened, so he's batted at 3. These are lots of questions. Do they have any real answers going into next year?
No, I don't think they have any real answers, because they still have to either go with Ajinkya next season as captain, or they'll have to find a captain, because from this lineup that they have, I don't think you have to take a punt with a youngster or an uncapped player to become captain, which is highly unlikely as an Indian uncapped player. Otherwise, you'll have to go the overseas route of picking a captain from the auction and then making him the skipper. So that's something that KKR will have to figure out. In terms of personnel, I agree with Tom in terms of how they have done that. And when you have certain players who've performed exceptional roles early on, and they're now getting on with age, and then they are a part of your team, they haven't been nimble this season. That's something that they haven't been at all in their strategy. They've stuck to the template of last season, hoping that things would work out. At the opening partnership, didn't work, and Sunil Narine sort of stuck at to open the batting, and they changed the other guys. So I guess that's something that KKR will have to also think of going forward.
Does Rahane have a future in the franchise for you? Or is that a call that will have to be taken before the auction, or do you wait and see how things play out at the auction?
Well, the captain is such an important part of any franchise, and Rahane is a highly regarded captain and hugely respected. So I feel that they don't have a choice, because there's no obvious replacement unless, as Anil said, they get someone from outside. So if he is the captain, to me, he's got to open the batting, and they need to clear a path for him to be able to play that role and not have the similar style players throughout their top order. So they need to make sure they integrate some real impact players. The other area that has been a real challenge for KKR since Phil Salter's left is that opening impact wicketkeeper batter. They tried Quinton de Kock early on, didn't quite go. Gurbaz then had a run at it, didn't quite work out. So ideally for them, if they can find a domestic wicketkeeper batter that can sort of bat as a finisher, that's going to be their ideal fit, because then it's going to allow your likes of your Rinkus and your Russells to really get the exposure they need, around that 10th, 12th over mark.
All right. That's the tale of the now displaced defending champions. But what about last season's runners-up? Sunrisers Hyderabad were out of playoffs contention quite early. They've actually had a decent closing phase of the season. They've won 3 of their last 4 completed games. What to you were the main reasons behind Sunrisers not being able to replicate the success from last year?
Again, the opening template worked really well for them, like how KKR, it worked for them, and then suddenly they didn't have plans to sort of counter that. The middle order got stuck. They were not in the greatest of forms, and Ishan Kishan got off to a great start, and then again didn't do anything in those the second match. So I guess that's been the challenge. They have still a really good squad. It's just a matter of reinforcing that fast bowling attack. Mohammad Shami Obviously, he was coming back from an injury. He was not at his best. So they'll have to think going forward as to how they can reinforce. But the positives have been Abhishek Sharma. I think he's still, the key batter there for SRH, and he's been wonderful. And a couple of young spinners. So if you sort of persist with them, probably there's potential there. But they'll have to find an experienced spinner there to come in as well at the auction.
Well, they would be disappointed at large. Does the finish to the season, especially if they win this, which means they end with 4 wins in the last 5, potentially finishing 6th as opposed to, say, 8th or 9th, does that change the feeling and the mood around the camp going into next season?
I think slightly, but it also highlights how disappointing the season's been. Because I think, I think most people sort of saw them as a finals team at the beginning when we looked at purely the squad and what they had available and the impact they had last year. So I think that, if anything, that another win, yes, it's a moral victory, but, and you find yourself in a slightly better position on the table, but they'll be thinking, where was this 2 weeks ago? Where was this 3 weeks ago? Why didn't we find this type of form collectively back then, and we wouldn't be sort of having these conversations about not qualifying?
Yeah, so perhaps Maldives was the turning point of their season, the break that they had. Meeting in Delhi, Sunrisers are still due that 300 we expected at the start of the season. Who are we backing?
Yeah, I think Sunrisers should not score 300, but I'm sure winning a match.
Sunrisers.
All right, and that will be great news for them. Thank you so much, Tom, Anil, because Sunrisers, while the season might be beyond them, they are waiting to pull one back on KKR. The last 4 meetings between these sides since the start of IPL 2024 have all been KKR victories.
Ready for it.
Thrilled for it.
Presenting Franks with Turbo Booster Jet Engine.
Nexa.